Hey everybody, Crow here, and this weekend on July 8th, I went to the Video Game Summit 2023. This year it was in McCook, Illinois at the McCook Athletic and Exposition. Well, I don't know if it's center, it just ends at Exposition, but otherwise it's known as the Max. And what we're actually walking through here, the footage you're seeing kind of sped up, is just a walk to the area that the Video Game Summit was in. As you can see, this is an athletic center, so there's all these partitioned areas off where they can separate people doing their own exercises. Earlier in that day, actually when I was waiting in line, this is after the event had actually started and I left and I'm coming back, they had like kids playing soccer and stuff in some of these areas. So when you're looking at this footage and I'm walking around, that's why all the ground is green. If you happen to see the ground, it's because it's all like that here at this place. So I actually took about 45 minutes worth of footage here, but I've shortened it down to about 15 minutes. I figure I'd run that. I'll have some commentary over that. And then after that 15 minutes of footage, I'll show the things I picked up. And I actually picked up quite a few things, way more things than I thought I was going to get. Actually more things than I normally get in an event like this. It's not a super huge event or anything. But yeah, I'll show you that after we're through with this footage and my commentary. Now this is the very first bit of footage I recorded because I accidentally went upstairs. I thought I saw a sign saying it was upstairs, so I went upstairs. When I went up there, I got a good vantage point of the whole area, so I took a little bit of a shot of that before I went to actually go wait in line to enter. And this is actually a little bit later in the day. I was on the other side and I kind of did another kind of pan around the room just to give you an idea of how big this was. Again, it's not a huge event or anything. The entrance fee was $10. And since I had actually pre-ordered, I could have actually gone in an hour earlier at 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. But I figured, I'd rather sleep in a little bit. And I took my time getting there. And then I wasn't expecting a huge line to wait and get in line. But fortunately, it didn't take too long to get in. And actually, the footage that we just saw now walking in, that was actually what the first things you saw as you walked in. This is the first aisle. We already walked past the booth for Old School Gamer magazine. This booth right here was Paul Zimmerman, who holds a lot of Atari 2600 records. There's Brian Colin, who I wound up talking to for quite a while, and I wound up buying 2 of those posters. I'll show you those later. One of those, wow, I couldn't not buy it. Right now, we just kind of passed by Jeff Lee. I also got a signature from him and a little mini poster there. He did the art for Qbert. And right now we're looking at the we were looking at the Midwest Gaming Classic booth. I did buy a couple items there. And as we're walking around here, I'll just say that my intention was that I was just going to walk around with the camera nonstop. But the thing is I kept stopping to talk to people and look at things. So there's going to be quite a few cuts. But because I kept recording, that's why there's 45 minutes worth of footage. Because I kept walking and then I put the camera down without stopping the recording. And I just kept like talking to people or looking at things, and I had to cut all that out. Also tried to make it at least a little bit watchable so you weren't like stuck like just being blocked by people all over the place. But yeah, I did try to work my way all the way around, get as much footage as I could. I probably didn't get to film everything I wanted to film, and some of it is just very quick clips of it, but I'll kind of try and talk my way through it. And I had completely forgotten to mention that next to Brian Colin was Paul E. Niemeyer, who did art for Mortal Kombat. We can almost kind of see him in it. Well, now we can't because the footage cut. But yeah, this table had this Sonic the Hedgehog pinball machine. They were asking $50 for it. Apparently, a lot of people were looking at it because when I looked at it, that's what the guy at the booth had said. These are some Nintendo McDonald's toys, TurboGrafx 16. Here's another cut. Let's see, NES games. A lot of tables, a lot of booths like this. If you've been to an event like this, I'm sure you're familiar with it. Tupperware cases full of items, boxes full of games, that kind of thing. That was an Xbox mini fridge. I was kind of tempted to buy for no reason whatsoever, but I did resist that temptation. I did not buy that. Again, a lot of highly valuable games in these locked cases for people to look at and not touch. so to speak. I saw quite a few copies of Haunting Grounds, and they were asking quite a bit for that. It wasn't the most expensive thing I saw there. Wow, I wish I could remember what game I remember seeing there. They were asking for like $1,100. But I bring up Haunting Grounds because we actually have a sealed copy of that. What I was interested in there was that box copy of John Madden's Football. I don't know what platform that was for, but that is the first John Madden's Football, and that was for like either PC, or that version was probably either PC or something around that time period. They were asking $300 for that. I was like, whoop, no way. Let's see, we got some Ataris there. Again, a lot of these things where I'm just kind of lingering around. It's because I was talking to somebody and I just kind of was like, let the camera go. Some Intellivision games there was, again, just kind of sorting through it. Again, it's the kind of thing where I just meant to walk through, but then I was like, hey, look at this. Hey, look, there's Safecracker. I pulled that out because I'd never played that in the Intellivision. I considered it. I'd wind up not buying that. But this booth had like Atari 8-bit games and Commodore VIC-20 games. I had one of those, but I thought that was interesting that they had those. And of course, they had Commodore 64 games as well. And I think I bought a couple there, one or two at least. Let's see what we got here. Oh, yeah, they had Intellivision. I was like, just think every year I go there, there's at least somebody selling an Intellivision system. At least one. I don't know if I've seen more than one. There was one booth. There's Brett Weiss. He's actually walking away. He was actually facing the booth when I walked by. But there was a box full of IntelliVoice modules. I considered buying one of those, but I said, yeah, no, I don't really. I have an Intellivision. I have maybe 10 to 15 games for it, but I'm not really collecting for an Intellivision stuff. But I'm not going to sell that either. Here, I was asking about the Wizard of War box copy for the Commodore 64. I was asking how much it was, and he just was showing me it's $100, no manual. I don't care about no manual, but $100, a little bit too much. I like Wizard of War, but I don't like Wizard of War to the effect of $100 on the Commodore 64. Plus, I already had a copy, a cartridge copy, and that's fine for me. But I was just like, wow, box copy of Wizard of War. That just really stuck out at me. And let's see what we got here. Oh, yes, this was like those limited run games and stuff. Here we're looking at... there were, just a little bit while ago, the previous table, there were like limited run trading cards that I was considering buying, but that's like, no, let's not do that. I got enough of those things. Oh, those are the more recent Atari games. I think they were selling those for each $100 each, and those are the standard versions, so I don't really know if that's really the going price for those. I would say no. I paid $60 for Aquaventure from Atari, and I think you could still get it for $60 unless they sold out and they're not doing another run or something. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I wouldn't pay $100 for those. You see, again, just your typical... Oh, this is Logan... Well, this is not Logan's arcade table. They had a Logan arcade flyer, and I thought this was, is this Logan's arcade? But no, there's a guy here who worked for Logan's arcade, but he wasn't there representing Logan's arcade. Oh, there's the $1,000 Power Blade 2. That's kind of what I was thinking. Still not the most expensive game, though. I'm pretty sure one was $1,100. I just can't remember which one. But yeah, $900 for Panic Restaurant. I don't know if those are the typical prices for those. If I was really interested in that, I'm sure I'd know. I'd know whether or not those would be good prices or not. As of such, I'm not in the market for any more like NES or Game Boy games or anything like that. That was my wife. She was pointing out Gremlins too. I don't know why, but that was kind of amusing. She's pointing out Rollerball because it's a pinball game. But hey, I already have Rollerball. I just don't have it in the box. I don't really need it in the box, I suppose. Again, I was not here looking for Nintendo games. What I was looking for in particular was Atari 8-bit games, Commodore 64 games, Atari 2600 games, and that's pretty much it. And in most cases, box games. There were a couple exceptions where I'd just buy a loose cartridge, like Commodore 64 loose cartridges, but if it was a disc-based game, Commodore 64 game in the box, I wouldn't buy just a disc. And there were plenty of each, surprisingly. There was a booth selling packs of Commodore 64 discs. Now, they were not the original discs, they were copies, but they were selling them in bundles. But I did actually get, and this is a teaser for later, I did get several boxed Commodore 64 games and a couple boxed Atari 8-bit games, at least one. that I'm thinking about it. I might have bought, no, actually I was thinking about buying some Atari games from that booth, but I wound up not. I had, to give you an idea, I had $220 on me, $240 on me. I spent all of it. And then I kept spending on top of that to the people that would accept the card. I could have got the ATM machine. JVCXI, I had to point that out because I had one of those at one point, but they're asking $400 for it. Not sure what I had paid for it back then, but or what I even sold it for. But JVCXI is something you don't really see every day, so I had to point that out. This booth had Vectrex, nothing but Vectrex stuff. They were selling that Vectrex there. $500, and it made me think back to when I bought my Vectrex from video games, etc., for $100, and that came with a multi-cart. Yeah, this stuff has really shot up in price, I suppose. I couldn't imagine getting one of those for $100 now, especially from a store. This was an escape room booth. It's like Think Fast Escape Room or something like that. So I had this escape tabletop game or whatever. They had these weird puzzle boxes and other doodads, and you might catch somebody. I haven't caught it yet, but there were people wearing these name tags that were electronic, and they have their names scrolling across, and you could have bought those here. So is that, and then this is another booth kind of off the side. The wheel there, it explained to me that if you spent $300 or more at this booth, you got to spin the wheel, and you got to take a certain percentage off, whatever that percentage on the wheel had landed on. Or if it was a percentage or a dollar amount. I don't really know. I didn't get a good look at the wheel there. But again, the reason I hung around there is because I was asking them questions and stuff. There was a lot of stickers here. These were like lenticular stickers, so they kind of flip back and forth. There were pins, obviously. There was a booth that was selling, and I probably didn't get any footage of it, but just like bins of thumb grips for Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. And they wanted $2 each from them. I was like, you got so many of them. I think you could afford to sell them cheaper. It was like one for $2 or 5 or 10 for $10 or something like that. It's like, well, you should really be selling these for 50 cents each, and you'd still make a fortune based on how many you have. There's a copy of Earthbound up there. I had one of those at one point. It's something that I had at one point, makes me not want it anymore, even if I sold it most of the time. There's some stuff that I've wound up rebuying after I've sold it off, but most things not. Just one or two things I've wound up. Oh, there's a copy of Haunting Grounds. I was just talking about that. I think they wanted. I didn't get a good price on the tag there. There was two copies of Haunting Grounds, and I think they wanted between, I don't know, $300, $400, $500 for that, and that's not sealed. My wife thought that Cosmic Creeps was pretty amusing, so she was showing me that there. Let's see here, what we got moving around. Oh, yes, of course, Galloping Ghost was there. They brought 4 arcade machines. We'll get another good look at those later. I just kind of cut this in. That was Adam Korlick really quick. That was the best amount of footage I got of him because I kept forgetting to record every time I walked by, and there was just so many people at their time there that I just caught that quick glimpse of him, and there's some other stuff. This guy was actually 3D printing like cartridge holders, and it kind of made me was like, I kind of want my own 3D printer because what I'd want to do is make these cartridge holders that would fit in existing DVD cases, stands, so I could actually put them on display. Do that for like Atari cartridges, and, no, Atari cartridges mainly, because I just want to do something custom like that. The reason I looked at that is because I was wondering what that was, and it was a My Arcade Bad Dudes handheld, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And a bunch of posters here based off of game boxes. That's the Polycade, from what I understand. Again, it's just like this. It's kind of like I don't want to say an arcade one-up, but I think you could. I'm not sure if you could put your own games in. I don't really know too much about it. I've seen it there before. They've got this thing here. It's a Kickstarter, 25 machines. Which I don't know what that means. 25 machines, 50 machines. I don't know if that means you could emulate 25 machines or emulate 50 machines, or if that means it comes in with 25 games or 50 games. I would think if you were going to buy something like that, you'd be able to put whatever games you want on it. But, I mean, for that price, that's what I would think. But those things hang on the wall. I guess they're on Kickstarter. We're looking at this gaming area now where they had all these television stuff. They always have this there, where like back when it was at the other hotel or whatever convention area, they had one area that was for the convention, and then or the vendors, and one area that was for all the gaming. Here, and it's funny, it's like usually in past years it was like even pretty much, but here the vendors, there's way more vendors than there were games here. Now here's the Galloping Ghost games they brought. There was Rampage, Mortal Kombat, Berserk, and Qbert, and I realized why they'd brought 3 of the 4 games, and the reason is Qbert, of course, is because Jeff Lee was there, who did the art for Qbert, if you remember I said earlier. And made me think, wait a minute, hey, look, he signed it. There it is, To Galloping Ghost Rock On. And I thought, wait, is Rampage signed? And there it is, yes, because Brian Colin did Rampage. And I was like, wait a minute, did Paul Niemeyer autograph the Mortal Kombat? And I saw, oh, there's some scribbles. Oh, wait, no, it's Johnny Cage wins. And it was the guy who did, who played Johnny Cage that signed it. Galloping Ghost usually had a lot of the Mortal Kombat cast over for events and stuff. And that's pretty much the end of the footage. Let's cut over to the pickups. All right, this is the second time I'm recording this because I used OBS the first time and it decided to screw everything up. So I lost all the footage that I had recorded for pickups. So I'm using my phone this time. Fortunately, I should be able to get through this faster than I did last time because I'm not going to really fumble my way through it like it did the first time. So, first thing I wanted to show off is, if you remember, I mentioned the badges. I don't really remember if anybody was caught on video wearing the badges, but like Brian Colin was wearing one. A lot of people were wearing them. So at that Think Fast Escape Room booth, I think that's what it was called, I did buy a name tag. So there's my name tag. And you could program this to say whatever you want. You could actually draw pictures onto it if you wanted to. It is $30. And I bought 2 of them because my wife wanted one too. I actually don't have hers. This is the gold one. They came in different colors. She got like a light blue one. I've messed around with this. It's incredibly easy. Unless you want to do complicated things, you could animate pictures and stuff. Then it starts to get more and more complicated. But this should last about, I guess, it's like 12 to 14 hours on a single charge. It just uses micro USB. It's only got 2 buttons on the side, one for turning it off and on, and the other one kind of, you could cycle through 8 different text things or 8 different programs or whatever, so long as it doesn't overfill the memory. But yeah, just shut it off. You're done. $30. After I recorded that last part with the name tag, I wound up messing around with this thing a bit more, and I figured out how to do this animation with the Space Invaders. Oh, there's the UFO. Also, at that booth, I bought the puzzle box. I'm pretty sure you saw those sitting around, and I don't know if there's a particular point to these, but I bought it because this is very similar to something I had when I was a kid. The only difference between this one and the one I had as a kid, other than there being different patterns on it, is that it has magnets, so it'll stay into the shapes you form it in. You could do, I don't remember how many, different shapes they said it would do. But this is exactly the thing I had when I was a kid, just with magnets instead. This was $30 as well, which I think was a lot, but to be honest, this is something I had like when I was a kid, so I had to get one. And again, if they show up again, I might get another one. Let's see here. I'm going to do something here like this. There we go. There we go. Got this. See, I think he's kind of cool. You could do kind of. It's just something to mess with, I guess. Lastly, I did buy this there at that escape room booth. Now, this is kind of a weird, goofy thing. My niece has one of these, but basically you do that, and it kind of shoots out like this, and you can. Well, what they were showing is this. You just kind of roll it up and down your arm. Let's see, you do that. So $15. I was like, sure, why not? It's metal. I think some of them are plastic, but it's very reminiscent of like a Slinky, the way this feels. It's just in a different shape. And then when you're done, you got that, and you can flap it right down to a ring again. As for actual games I picked up, I kind of separated these out by booths or that I bought them from, because you know, you get a couple games and they usually give you a discount on it usually. And I can't remember exactly how much I paid for these 3 games. I think it was about $20 altogether, despite what it says on the stickers. So the first one here is Pole Position for the Atari 8-bit computers. I'm kind of surprised I didn't have this one. What I did was I took pictures of all the stuff I had because I knew I was going to focus on Commodore 64. I knew I was going to focus on Atari 8-bit cartridges and the like. So I took a picture of all that stuff. And I looked through my pictures. I didn't see this one. I was like, that's surprising. I would have thought I would have had this one because this is the very first version of Pole Position I ever played. I very vividly remember playing this on our Atari 8-bit computer way back when. So I had to have this one. Again, they had it marked as 7. It's not that bad. I really like these Atari 8-bit cartridges because they have this metal like feel to it, like aluminum. Like no other cartridges have used any other material other than plastic. I wish it would be more interesting and more novel to go back to metal. Again, well, not the whole thing's metal, but you know, if you haven't felt it before, that just this back plate is metal, the rest of it is plastic. I bought this Commodore 64 game cartridge. I think it was marked $5, $8. I can't remember what the price on it was. The sticker fell off of it. It actually stuck to my wife's shirt at one point. So I don't remember what it was. But this is Viduzzles. And I didn't know what this game was. It just sounded weird. Viduzzles? Yeah, I'm going to get this cartridge. And you know what the amazing thing about this game is? There's only 2 videos on YouTube about Viduzzles, and only one of them is for the Commodore 64. The other one is for the Commodore 16 plus 4. That's what it said it was for, and I'm not really familiar with that console at all, or computer, microcomputer, whatever you want to call it. But since there's only one video of this on YouTube for the Commodore 64, I might make a video for this. At the very least, put one up on the Crow Capture channel because Viduzzles, come on. It's such a weird name. I had to buy it. Now, this one I bought just because of the box. This is for the Atari 400/800. This is Star Raiders. This is a freaking huge box. This box, to give you reference of how big this box is, it's the size of a standard sheet of paper. It's 8.5 by 11. That's pretty much why I bought this. Not only because it had the box, but because the box is so huge. I don't know how many games came in boxes this huge. I don't know how standard it was because I have other Atari 8-bit computer games in boxes, but the only one I have like this style is this one. This is Space Invaders. Why is this box so much bigger than this one? It's not like there's anything special in here. Let's get this tab open. And it's like, look at the back. It's like, it's just got huge ass pictures on how you insert the cartridge into the machine, which you would already pretty much know, I think. If you owned the thing. It's like, could you imagine like if you bought a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 game and instead of anything on the back, it just told you how to insert the disc into the console. So yeah, you've got the cartridge in here, and the only other thing in here is the manual, and the manual's the same size as the box. You'd think that they could have shrunk the manual down to fit a standard box size. I don't know what. Maybe there was something else in here at one point that I'm not aware of. I don't think so. It's so bizarre. I had to buy it, and it was only had the $10 sticker on it. And like I said, I think I only paid like $20 for all 3 of them combined. So the only problem I'm going to have is that I like to put these case protectors on these games. I definitely don't have one this size. I might have to custom order one to be like this size if they don't already make it. So, or make my own. All right, at a booth that was very close to the Midwest Gaming Classic booth or the Goat Store or whatever it was, I'm sure you may have saw footage of this Kool-Aid Man for the Intellivision. Yes, I did wind up picking up this Kool-Aid Man. I picked this up in 4 other box games, and it was funny. I gave them to the guy, and I was like, "Oh, how much do you want for these?" Because like you know, some of these had prices on it. This one did not. And he looked at me, and I think he was like, "Oh, well, what camera? What are you doing?" Okay, weird. Gimbal issues, I guess. That's weird. That's the only thing I had to prop my phone, and if it happens again, I might have to plug it in. So, okay, he tells me $50, and I wasn't even looking at him. I was like, "Oh, $50 for all 5? Okay, I'll do that." And he said, no, $50 for this one. I was like, oh, well, okay, I still want it. And I looked up later. Yeah, pretty much a complete in box copy of this does go for around $50. So he wasn't like ripping anybody off or anything. So, but then there were these other 4 games. This is Soccer for the Atari 8-bit. And again, I guess the only reason I bought this is because of the case, the packaging this is in. Maybe, what is this? This is Thorn EMI Video. It's like a video store logo. So that may be actually what that is, where they maybe have been publishing games at one point. Because I've seen other games in this case style. I just didn't own any. And there was a $20 sticker on this one. So I didn't really care that much about getting Soccer. This is a game I didn't have either. Soccer for the Atari 8-bit line. But I bought this solely because of the case. And it's a case style I didn't have before. You had the plastic insert. You've got the manual, and there goes the thing again. I'm going to have to figure this out. See if we can get this plugged in. Ah, what are you doing? All right, hopefully that solves the issue. I was talking about Soccer. As you saw, it did have the game and the manual in there. And it's a clamshell. I also got, this had a $10 label on it. Battle Zone, so a box copy of Battle Zone. And yeah, some of these look like they may have been in a war. We've got the cartridge, but no manual. But the funny thing about putting a game in a protective case is it makes it look 1,000 times better. I mean, look at this copy of Space Invaders. It looks really good in this protective case, even though there's a big chunk taken out of the box. The other one here, $10, not baseball, home run, everybody's favorite. He said sarcastically. But it was a game I did play when I was a kid quite often. So that was one of the reasons I picked this up. But we've got the cartridge in here and the little manual that's in here as well. And then the last Atari 2600 game, Demons to Diamonds. A really good game. I really like Demons to Diamonds, which is why I picked this one out. It was marked $15. Again, we've got the cartridge and manual in here. And again, the Kool-Aid Man, I didn't really go through it, but we'll open it up because it is complete in box. We do have the cartridge here. We've got 2 overlays. We've got the manual and we've got the game catalog. So complete in box. I don't think this had anything else in here. And I just had to have Kool-Aid Man for one. I was always fascinated by these Kool-Aid Man games. I have the one on the Atari 2600 complete in box, so I felt it only right that I had the Intellivision too. I think the original total he would have added up would have been over $100, but he sold all 5 of those games to me for $90. So I think it was kind of a deal, especially with the Kool-Aid Man game thrown in there in the mix. And then next up, I did buy a couple games from the Midwest Gaming Classic booth, the Goat Store, whatever it is. They had a bunch of sealed Atari 2600 games, and I asked, it's like, what's the deal with these Atari 2600 games? Are they factory sealed, or are they been real sealed? And they explained to me that these Atari 2600 games were kind of found in this store that went out of business in the 90s, and this guy, when he I guess bought the place or was going through it or something like that, discovered these boxes of sealed Atari 2600 games, and he wound up selling them to different places to go ahead and sell to their customers. So I bought 2 of them. One of them was $50, one of them was $45. He sold them both to me for $90. The first one I had in my mind that I was going to buy is this one, BMX Airmaster. I'd never heard of this one before. It is sealed. To be honest, I'm probably not going to open these up. If I really want to play these games, that's what emulation is for. If I really wanted to play it on the actual system, that's what the Harmony card is for. So I don't really see any reason to open these up. I bought them just to have them, I suppose, to collect them, as it were. And the other one is Roadrunner, which I was confused because I thought Roadrunner on the 2600 was like a prototype canceled game, but it was released. This has a rarity of 6 on Atari Age. But yeah, I like the Roadrunner. That's why I kind of picked this one out. I forgot to mention it, but this one, there's 2 different versions of this. This is the TNT version. This is the more common version of this game with a rarity of 4. If it was the Atari published one, it would have a rarity of 10. I was not even aware of until I started looking this stuff up after I got home. And because I bought those two and I spent over a certain amount of money, they gave me a free DVD for Star Worlds, A Pocket Full of Tokens, and I'm heading to the arcade. This is some sort of DVD having to do with Star Worlds Arcade, which is in DeKalb, Illinois, really close to Northern Illinois University, which is where I went to school. What's funny is that arcade opened up the year after I graduated. So these are the final games, and these were the ones I was most excited to see, because this is exactly the type of thing I hope to see when I go to these events, and I don't always see. And okay, I was just making sure it was still recording audio, and it is. So what they are these, let's pull out one. Album-style Commodore 64 games. Most of these are Electronic Arts. In fact, I have 5 of these. 4 of them are Electronic Arts. 1 of them is Mindscape. But this is what I most like to collect. So if you're unfamiliar, they are like little, they're like vinyl album cases. Just a smaller version of it. You open it up, you get the disc inserted in there, and usually the manuals like over here. All of these have the manuals and everything that came with it. I think the guy that was selling these at the booth, they weren't his. He was selling them for someone else. And I'll let you know how much I paid for all of these together. It was quite insane in my opinion. Sky Fox 2. And then we got the 7 Cities of Gold. This is also Electronic Arts. Everything in this one as well. We got, let's pull that out. Manual, I think, is just the extra thing in this one. And yeah, and there's actually another additional disc in here. Some of these where you could save your own data, like maps, characters, whatever. That's what's on this disc. Secondary discs are in here as well. The guy's original characters and stuff, scenarios are in here. And we got Lords of Conquest from Electronic Arts, and again, same deal. We've got the disc and then the user disc in here that he provided, as well as everything else. We got the manual, we got quick start guide, and then this is the only one that's Mindscape. This is Infiltrator 2. I do have another Mindscape game in this style packaging, and that's Indoor Sports, one of my favorite games when I was a kid. That's like bowling, ping pong, darts, that kind of stuff. But again, we got the user disc and the regular disc, and in here we got a very, very, very thick manual. And then finally, this almost doesn't even count as the album style, but it is the same dimensions. This is Bard's Tale 2, again, Electronic Arts, and the reason this isn't in a fold-out thing is because it's a little bit thicker. So it has the thing where you pop open and you get this little map on the inside. This has like a bunch of discs in there. There's 4 discs in here. There's 2 personal discs, scenarios, characters, that kind of thing, and then 2 game discs. One of them has the boot disc, and on the other side is the character disc, and then the other one is Dungeon 1 and Dungeon 2. And then there's also this, what is this? Oh, I think this is a, if you need clues, you could buy a book, and that's telling you how you could buy those books. And this, again, we got the manual. This is a pretty thick manual for this game. A quick start guide. And I don't really know what this is. It's a whole bunch of sheets, and they're stapled together. Either something that was made by maybe a Photoshop, not Photoshop, copied out of somewhere else to help with the game that they put together, or this could be some sort of addendum that was included with the game originally. I really don't think it would have been included with the game originally. I don't get this. It's because yeah, I don't know. This must be some sort of hint book or something. Reference guide. I don't really sure know what this is. But you know what? Now I'm thinking about it, this probably wasn't originally included. It looks like it was photocopied, but again, I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at somebody else's unboxing of this game to see if they have the same thing in here or not. All right, I've got to stop this right now. I'm editing this video at the moment, and I found out I never told you how much I paid for these 5 games. They were sitting in a stack, And I asked the guy at the table how much he was asking for these. Well, there was actually 8 games there. I picked up 5 of them. One of them I didn't pick up because it was an Amiga game, and the other 2 I didn't pick up is because they were games I already had, Archon and Archon 2. So I picked up the 5 I didn't have. And I asked him how much these games were, and he said, well, they vary in price. And then he says, they'll go between $10 and $15. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because I was expecting him to quote a much higher price, because normally I hear a lot higher prices for these. So I said, okay, well, I want these 5. And he goes, well, $50. It's like, okay. I was expecting to hear like $50 per each one, but nope, $50 for the lot. So it's like, sure. I gave him the money and I was on my way. All right. Can't believe I forgot to mention all that. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the games, but I did get a couple other things. At Jeff Lee's booth, I did buy this piece of art from him, and he did sign it in the corner there. This is, he had a bunch of different pieces of art on that table. I kind of wish I maybe had recorded a little bit more of it so you could have seen it. Actually, I didn't record any of it now that I think about it. And I wound up, I was like, you know what, I got to buy one of these. So I bought one, had him sign it. I did the last time I saw him, too, at the Video Game Summit, and I can't remember where exactly I put that, but I remember I had him sign it too. I'd like to put that one with that one. But at Brian Colin's booth, I saw a couple of posters I had to have. The second one I bought, basically he had a deal where the large posters like this one were $35, and then there were smaller posters that were $20. But if you bought a large and a small, the small would be $5. And I bought the small one first and separately. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I think I want this one. And so he still gave me the deal for that one. So basically, when I paid $20 for that one, I paid $20 for this one instead of the full. What would it have been? $35 and $20, $55. But this is... I gotta show you. This is, it's hard to explain if you're not already familiar with it. But this is the Spectre Files Deathstalker. This is a poster for a game that Brian Colin worked on that never was released originally. This was supposed to be a Laserdisc game. It's right, it's full motion video. But it's not like Dragon's Lair or anything. It's basically like a choose-your-own-adventure game where a scenario, the video plays, and then it's like, what do you do? And then you choose the action, and then your actions kind of follow together. And the funny thing is, it's not like the kind of thing where the game abruptly ends or anything. You always get to play through the whole thing. But the final guy, if you don't make the right decisions, the final guy in the game is going to kill you. Okay? I've never played the game and not got killed. Now I explained that this game wasn't released, and how could I have played the game if it was never released? Well, Galloping Ghost made the game. They restored it. There's a whole story as to why the game never came out and how it got ruined and needed to be restored. I'm not going to go into all that, but I just think this game is hilarious because the footage is like a really bad 70s B movie. It is great. And it is fantastic. And I played it at Galloping Ghost. The only problem is if you played at Galloping Ghost and you don't bring your own headphones, you can't hear anything. The arcade is so loud, you could barely hear anything, and I never remember to bring headphones. And it's the only arcade cabinet in the world where you could play this game. But you're in luck, because it turns out, I mentioned something to the effect that, man, I wish they had would bring this out digitally so you could play it at home. Brian's like, they did that, didn't they? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's on Steam. I was like, it is? And I looked it up, sure enough. This is on Steam. They ported it to Steam. Galloping Ghost Productions literally ported this to Steam. It's the only thing they posted on Steam. It's only $9.99. I highly recommend looking into it. It doesn't look like a whole lot of people are aware of it. I might make a video for it. It's a good thing I brought this up. I mentioned it, because otherwise I would not have realized, maybe even for I don't know how much longer, that the game was on Steam. And so I played it a little bit, and it does seem to be like cut off a little bit on some sides. Maybe it was just my resolution or something, but it's perfectly playable. It's as playable as it's even more playable because I could actually hear the game now than in the arcade where I can't hear anything. But it's hilarious. It's a great game. Even if you don't like FMV games, check this one out. And then finally, this is the first one I bought. I don't know if you guys are ready for this at all, because I mentioned that I keep forgetting that Brian Colan's going to be at these conventions. And I had him sign like a ton of stuff. I had him sign the Rampage Funko Pop guys that I had. I had him sign my copy of Rampage, the movie. I had it on Blu-ray. I had the Steelbook. I had signed multiple copies just in case the ink rubbed off, even though he really didn't have anything to do with that movie. And he had a cameo in the movie, but it got cut out. And I don't even think it's in the extra features. It might be. I can't remember. But so he did the art. He didn't like invent the game, but he did the artwork for it. But the Deathstalker game he did do. I think he was involved in it. I think that was his idea and everything. But he also signed my copy of the NES Rampage and the NES version of Xenophobe, even though he didn't really have anything to do with those parts. He said he'd practically sign anything that you wanted him to sign. So I brought up the fact that they had these Stretch Armstrong-like figures for the Rampage characters that were Walmart exclusive. I keep saying, oh, I should have brought those and had you sign those. And when I mentioned that, he pointed to this poster that I didn't quite see. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to buy that. It's too ridiculous. I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if you're ready for this. Were you ready? I don't think you were. You're probably shocked as I was when I saw this. If you're not familiar with what's going on here, that is Burt Reynolds in the background there, and that is his it's a particularly famous photo shoot that he did for Playgirl magazine. So he had the figure, the George Stretch Armstrong figure, and he posed them like the same way. He made this picture. He posted it online. People said that he should make a poster for it. He's like, poster? Who's going to buy that? Apparently, a lot of people wanted to buy this, including me. And he signed it, and he said, how should I sign it? I said, I don't know. You could just sign your name. But nope. He wrote, hugs and kisses, XOXOXO, Burt George, and Brian F. Colon. And I couldn't think of anything better he could have put there. That is great. This is getting framed. The other one is getting framed. I don't know where I'm going to put the other one. I want to put it down here somewhere, but I really have no wall space. But this, we have the arcade one-up Rampage machine. This is going up right above the arcade one-up Rampage machine in our living room. And you know what? This is the perfect image. You can't top this. There's no way you could top this. So this is the image we're ending on. And see you next time.